So the plan for this week was all about creating that first grade, first level, first attempt at putting a marketing plan together that I can take on for the month of May. And I am super excited about taking this next step forward. But today I want to spend a little bit of time talking to the overwhelm that I've been feeling in trying to figure out what that next step is going to be. Hello there, this is Paul Heron and welcome to the From Zero to Marketing Hero podcast. This podcast is my personal challenge to show up every single day for 12 months and create and post a podcast episode. One of the reasons I took on this challenge was because I know how much resistance I have felt and how much resistance has come up when thinking about how I should approach getting my head around marketing. And one of the biggest takeaways that I've had from this whole experience so far is that it doesn't give me the opportunity to overthink this too much. There is a really narrow window each day to have a think about what's on my mind, make a few notes, hit that record button, and just trust myself that I have what it takes to be able to show up and regularly and consistently do this. And in many ways, I just continue to surprise myself. But now when I start to think about what the next step is beyond just simply showing up and what that might look like, some of that same resistance that I have experienced for many years is continuing to pop up and rear its head. Over the last couple of days, I've spoken to the idea that once we spend time putting the practice into developing our skills in any field, once enough time has passed, we're able to reflect back and see the progress that we've made. And from that perspective, it all makes sense. We can see exactly how putting the time, energy, effort into showing up and taking action and practicing the thing that we want to improve on eventually leads to us becoming proficient and experts in the things that we're pursuing. What I'm experiencing at the moment, though, is on the complete opposite end of that. I'm back to a place where there are so many things that I could be doing. And I can really feel myself putting pressure on trying to figure out what those very next steps for me are going to be. So today I just wanted to share just a little bit about my thought processes and how this has played out and how just today it's kind of led to this feeling of overwhelm in some ways. You know, there's a little bit of stress. There's a bit of watching the clock, thinking I've got a coaching call today and I've got to create this podcast. And I was lucky enough to be able to catch it and see what's going on. But I just wanted to talk to some of the things that have been popping up and what we can do to just keep coming back to that place where we give ourselves permission to not be perfect and just decide what that next action that we're going to commit to taking is. So I just wanted to start by zooming out and putting things into perspective in terms of what the plan for May really needs to look like. If the plan for the first month was literally nothing more than just showing up, and the key takeaways I took from that first month were that although it was successful and I built some habits around simply just committing to showing up, my key takeaways were that to get to the end of this 12-month challenge and really feel like I've got my head around marketing, it is going to take more than just showing up. And the second takeaway I took from that first month was for us to be able to improve anything, we need to think about ways to measure what we're doing and the results that we're getting. And finally, I decided that if this is a 12-month project or 12-month adventure, I'm going to break that 12 months down into monthly milestones, and I'm going to take the lessons I learned from that first month and apply them to a grade 1 first level marketing plan or marketing strategy for the month of May. I know that it does not need to be very complicated. Remaining in that zoomed out perspective, I identified that some structure in my content creation, some form of basic posting scheduled, the ability to be able to start to record the conversations that I'm having with people and to start to have a think about getting some more further clarity or going a little bit deeper into who my perfect ideal client really is. Can I narrow down that niche and aim my messaging really specifically at the specific problem that I'm tackling? So far, that all sounds fantastic. My challenge is, where do I draw the line with the commitments that I'm going to make? Every single time I go to social media now, I'm bombarded with various different offers, people trying to sell me their recipes for success. I'm even finding myself actively seeking out this stuff. And when I go down these rabbit holes, it just leads to more and more questions and me thinking about things that I wasn't thinking about a couple of hours earlier before I jumped online that I now think are completely essential in terms of what I need to do next. And it leads to this feeling of stress, overwhelm, and just reinforces this idea that I don't have any certainty at all about what I need to be doing. Just as a little bit of an example, a couple of the things that popped up for me this morning were traffic and how I can get people even taking notice and providing some feedback on what it is that I'm doing. Now, only 2 days ago, I made a distinction between sales and marketing, and that this project is all about marketing and not so much about sales. But then I found myself thinking, when I'm just starting out, maybe sales and making offers forces feedback. And maybe there's some truth to this, who knows? But then I find myself thinking, okay, if I need to be making offers, what offers do I need to be making? Is it lead magnets or low ticket type stuff? Just to be able to collect some email addresses from these marketing activities would be awesome. Is that what I want to be focusing on? Then I start thinking about traffic even further. And I'm like, well, the organic approach, going into groups, all that type of thing is just going to be far too time consuming. So if traffic's a thing and getting feedback's a thing, do I need to jump straight into Facebook ads, for example? And I think that's about the point where I caught it. And I'm like, no, I need to put this down. Went off, took a bit of a break, made myself a coffee, and just reflected on the idea that I don't need to be solving 10th class problems while I'm trying to create a first level marketing strategy. And I think for me particularly, maybe it's just the way that I'm wired, it is just going to be something I'm going to have to be constantly mindful of. These distractions, they lead to procrastination and going down these rabbit holes, taking me away from doing the things that will actually be moving the needle forward. And I think this whole experience today is just a really good reminder to just keep coming back to the basics, to keep this nice and simple, to highlight a couple of things that are really important in terms of what I want to try for the next period, and to resist the temptation to be distracted by everything else that's going to get in the way. Because in the end, for me to be able to test anything and to be able to determine whether anything's working, I need to put the practice in for enough time. I need to get enough reps in to be able to get enough data to be able to even measure the success of those first things I try. And if I'm not going to give them the opportunity to work, then I'm actually not going to be able to take any lessons at all from this exercise. And I think that's where I find myself going round and round in circles. And maybe this is what's led to me being 5 years into my self-employed journey and not really making any progress on this marketing adventure. So in summary, I guess this podcast and turning up every day and having this commitment to myself to show up and do this every day is something that's been huge, because I can't overthink this. I don't have the time or resources to perfect any of this. But what I hope will happen is the consistency and the regularity around showing up every single day and continuing to maintain putting the reps in will serve as a fantastic metaphor for the success that I'm looking for. Because just showing up and doing this podcast every single day, even without consciously trying to improve, I will improve. And I'm already seeing the results of that. I'm already finding it much easier to think about the content or think about the topic that I want to talk about. If I'm completely honest, there was probably some overwhelm, stress, and worry about turning up and producing this podcast every day. And now this is a little bit of an escape from everything else that I've got on my plate, which I guess in some ways is a fantastic sign. And ultimately, that becomes my ultimate goal, to have a level of understanding around marketing and understanding my perfect clients and understanding what's required from me to be able to attract them into my world in a way that I don't have to stress, worry, overthink about. I can trust. I have an element of certainty in that whole process, which is exactly what this is all about. So I might leave it there for today. Let me know if me sharing some of my personal insights around how this experience is for me, showing up and thinking about the things that I intend to take on over the next little while. Let me know as well if you resonate with my story, or if you have any advice or anything that might help me out. I'd really appreciate it. Let me know. If you are getting value from these podcasts, please consider subscribing, or better yet, sharing these podcasts, sharing anything that you think someone else might benefit. Share away anything that you can do to help the word be spread, help get the word out there, and help grow the channel would be greatly appreciated. And until tomorrow, I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.